Oh, hello there. My name is Lauren Schmidt. Today we'll be talking about the concept of evolution. Evolution is taking place all around us, even at this very moment. So does this mean that you yourself are evolving? No, because individuals do not evolve, populations do. To find out exactly what I mean by this, let's delve in. Take it away, Danny.
Evolution is a theory widely credited to Charles Darwin. It can be defined as descent with modification. This means that organisms with superior traits will better survive and pass on those traits to their offspring, while organisms with inferior traits will not survive or reproduce as well. This brings us to our next point, natural selection.
Species living today are descendants of ancestral species. They became how they are today through the two types of selection, natural selection and artificial selection. Natural selection is Darwin's proposed mechanism for evolution. It says that individuals with favorable inherited traits are more likely to survive and reproduce than individuals without these traits. This means that over time, these traits are passed down from generation to generation, making the trait more frequent in a population over time.
An example of natural selection in action is antibiotic resistance in bacteria. When a population of bacteria is exposed to an antibiotic, those having a trait that makes them resistant to this antibiotic will survive and reproduce, while those that don't have this trait will die. Eventually, the frequency of this trait will increase throughout the population.
Artificial selection is when humans use selective breeding of domesticated plants and animals to promote the occurrence of desirable traits.
An example of artificial selection is this blue egg chicken. Unfortunately, it's not laying yet. Natural selection's effects on phenotypic frequencies can often be graphed. These graphs can be grouped into three major categories. In this picture, the graph on top represents the frequency of phenotypes in the original population when no evolution is occurring. There are a lot of organisms with the median phenotype, which in this picture is color, and there are fewer organisms with each trait as you go in either direction away from the median.
The bottom left graph shows stabilizing selection, which is when extreme phenotypes are selected against and the intermediate phenotype is favored and becomes more common in the population. The bottom middle graph shows directional selection, which is when one extreme phenotype is favored and the frequencies shift toward that phenotype. The bottom right graph shows diversifying selection, also known as disruptive selection. This is when the intermediate phenotype is selected against and both extremes are favored.
Another type of selection is sexual selection, which is a form of natural selection in which individuals with certain traits are more likely than others to obtain mates. This often leads to sexual dimorphism, which is a size or dormant difference between genders. To illustrate this, I prepared some sketches. Here is a group of female peacocks and a male peacock. Among vertebrates, females are often the gender to choose their mates rather than being chosen by their male counterparts. But when there are many possible male peacocks to choose from, the females tend to base their decisions on the showiest male peacock. Unfortunately, this is not the showiest male in the flock. This is. So, because the females tend to choose to mate with the showier male, his genes will be passed on to the next generation.
With all of this talk of how a species changes, I think we should talk about what a species truly is. The biological species concept defines a species as a group of populations whose members have the potential to interbreed in nature and produce fertile offspring. Other definitions define species based on shape, size, or ancestors, but the biological species concept is the one most commonly used in biology.
Speciation is the process by which one species becomes two or more species. Using our definition of species, we know that speciation has occurred when two populations can no longer mate. Speciation can come as a result of many possibilities, such as habitat isolation, gametic isolation, and hybrid breakdown, for example.
Well, Daniel, I don't know about you, but I sure have had lots of fun learning about evolution today.
Yeah, me too. Now let's solve some Rubik's Cubes.
Right on.
This can come as a result of many population possibilities. So, stop it.
Turn it off.
Another type of selection is sexual selection, which is a type of natural selection in which individuals with certain traits are more likely than others to obtain mates. Another type of selection is sexual selection, which is a type of natural selection in which turn it off. Difference between the genders in their traits. Turn it off.
Why?
I can't do it.
Why? What happened?
Alright, just rate this. I prepared some sketches. Here you see a flock of male peacocks.
Daniel.
Try again. Sketches. Here you see a flock of female peacocks and a it's flipped the wrong way.
Big 7.
Among vertebrates, females are often the gender.
Alright, ready?
Why can I not? Are more likely than others to obtain. Is the thing turned off?
No.
Screensaver. Okay. Just take 25.
Artificial selection is when humans use. That was so good. Well, Daniel, I don't know about you, but I sure have lots and lots of fun.